Welcome back to Clarity Farms. Today we're going to be talking about our Nigerian Dwarf goats. Here at Clarity Farms we have Nigerian Dwarf goats. We have them for a selection of different reasons. They're super lovable. They're like dogs. They'll come up to you, play with you. They just want to be around you. Super social animals. These goats are also really good for property control. They'll eat anything they can get their mouths on. Poison ivy, leaves that are super high up in the trees. As long as they can reach them, they're going to eat it. Thorn bushes, they love thorns. We got them that was their main purpose for us here at the farm, was to eat down all of our overgrown shrubs, bushes, just anything that was overgrown on our property. And they do an amazing job at it. Outside of that, their main purpose of an animal is for their milk and meat production. They're a dual purpose goat, so you'll see farmers have them mostly for milk, but like I said, they are dual purpose, so people do have them for their meat production as well. These goats are also extremely valuable for their small size, and they're known to be super low maintenance. You don't have to trim their hooves as much or as often as other goats. And as far as worms and other diseases and parasites that they can get, you normally don't have to do a lot to prevent them. So there are things to note when you're getting ready to start breeding your Nigerian Dwarf goats. Females need to be bred at about 7 to 8 months is when they meet their sexual maturity. But you have to be careful because their weight normally has to be 80% of what their full body weight will be in the future. So you can start breeding your goats whenever they have their first heat, but you want to make sure that they're around 40-ish pounds is normally the benchmark. Males reach their sexual maturity at early ages as far as to 3 months to like 5 months, normally in that 4-month range. But there's not a lot you have to worry about with your males. About 4 months is when they typically became ready to breed. It's also important to know that when your goat's having its first kidding, aka it's having its first babies, they typically only have one baby on their first time kidding. This doesn't always happen. We had one that had 3 on its first kidding. This is really rare, but after its first kidding, 2 or 3 babies is very common. 4 babies isn't that uncommon, and I think they can have up to like 6. That's super rare, but it does happen. So be prepared to have a lot of babies when it's time to be breeding season's over and it's time to have them. So just be prepared. Have a plan for when it's going to happen. Have a plan to where you're going to put all the babies, the type of fencing you have to make sure that it can enclose a small goat. We were not prepared for it when it happened to us, but just have a plan, be prepared. We use what's called pen breeding. Pen breeding is when you separate all of your goats. You might have a couple females in one pen, a couple females in another pen, and then a buck that can circulate through different pens, maybe multiple bucks. We have 2 different bucks that we use to make sure that all of our females get bred. And we'll put one buck in one pen with a group of females and another buck in another pen with a group of females. You have to set your fences and your pens up in certain ways, which we'll have more about in another video. But we use what's called pen breeding. Another common question is, how many goats can I have per acre? This really just depends on the type of acreage you have, how heavy of grass it has, is it shaded? Lots of factors go into that. Typically you can have, some people put 10 just to make sure that their acreage gets cleared out. You can't keep 10 goats on 1 acre full time. We rotate between different pens just to make sure that they get all the nutrients you can get. If you keep so many of the same animal on one piece of acreage, especially if it's just small, they'll start to eat out all the stuff that they like. So you'll have to start supplementing them with more feed. Which also brings us into our next question. What type of feeding are you using? We just use a goat ration feed, but we only feed them this when it's winter time, when there's not a lot of foliage out, or a month before breeding. About a month before breeding, it's also keen to know that you're supposed to start supplementing feed, or it's a lot of people supplement feed before they're about to start breeding just to make sure that their nutrients is at a high level. Or they'll start to supplement feeding when there's maybe a pregnant doe, or maybe you just had some babies and they need that extra nutrients that they're not able to get. Housing is another important aspect of raising and having goats. Goats hate rain. They don't really like water at all. So it's important to have something that they can run under just to get out of the rain, maybe get out of really cold weather. They're pretty hardy when it comes to cold weather. but they need something to get out of rain is primarily the issue. We have loads of different types of stuff, anything that we could recycle. A lot of people use pallets and they just put tin over it. Just anything that they can get out of the rain is really necessary. You don't need a full-on barn that they can go sleep in. They're not very picky about that, but it's definitely an important thing to have something that they can get under and out of rain. Thanks for watching. And if you have any other questions or concerns, let us know in the comments below, and hopefully we can answer them.